Please make sure to like this video, share all my videos, and make sure you subscribe to this channel. Let's keep promoting the message. Let's keep waking people up. So please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to get right into it today. Markets across the board did not fare very well today. Markets across the board finished in the red, except the Dow Jones, which was up earlier in the day, finished up only 10 points. So interesting to see what's happening. 10-year bond yield did break 4% again today. And that is going to have a definite effect on mortgages and people borrowing money to buy a house. I checked bankrate.com today, 7.06 for a 30-year fixed mortgage. And so we're seeing some things happening now in 2024 in regards to the stock market. Apple was down again today. That's definitely having an effect on the stock market. And I think the biggest effect is that the markets now are beginning to digest the possibility and probability that there are not going to be 6 rate cuts this year. It's not going to happen. Will there be 2 or 3? More than likely, yes, but not 6. And, you know, I think that while they may cut rates a couple times this year, that 10-year, many people saying is going to go to over 5%, 5.5%. So what does that mean? If the Fed cuts rates and those bond yields continue to climb, what does that mean for real estate? What does that mean for commercial real estate, residential real estate, new home builders? It's going to be a problem, because if we're looking at right now at 4% 10-year, and you're looking at a 30-year mortgage at 7.06% according to bankrate.com, that would put us probably back up above 8% on a 30-year. So I don't know, all these people who are predicting that, you know, mortgage rates are going to go way down and, you know, the interest rates are going to go way down. I don't think it's going to go down as much as they think. In fact, I think mortgage rates could begin to go back up. Article today on CNBC, private payrolls added 164,000 in December, beating expectations, ADP says. Better than the 130,000 estimate and higher than the 101,000 jobs in November. Now, what led the way? Of course, leisure and hospitality led the way with 59,000 jobs. So think of that 164,000, almost 60,000 of those jobs were in leisure and hospitality. So that means we have a lot of people in America working in hotels, restaurants, bars, coffee houses, resorts, and similar establishments. I don't know how you're going to promote this booming economy and continue to sustain this booming economy if everybody's working at restaurants and bars and resorts. I don't get it. And unfortunately, people now, these type of jobs are turning into careers. People working at restaurants, fast food restaurants, bartending, what have you. These are now becoming careers. These were never intended to be careers, but that's what's happening. And people are taking on these jobs who have $100,000 in student loan debt. And these are the jobs that they're taking. And we hear that, you know, there's 8.9 million jobs out there. What kind of jobs are out there? Well, majority of them are leisure and hospitality. The majority are low-wage, part-time jobs. So I don't know how they're going to continue to tell us that everything's okay, that the housing market is going to roar back, that we just need to get interest rates down and everybody will be back buying homes and cars and all that good stuff. How can you do that when you don't have the type of jobs that can sustain this? You don't have the type of jobs that is going to sustain the housing market or a booming U.S. economy. This is why so many people owe so much money. They have no net worth. They own no assets. They own nothing. They will never own anything if they're working with these type of jobs. I believe that the number 2 in line was in the health industry. A lot of those jobs too are part-time, low-wage jobs. I don't know how people are surviving with these type of jobs. We don't have great jobs in America. Are there some great jobs? Yes, but the percentage of the type of jobs in America are very, very low quality part-time jobs. Jobless claims for last week came in at 202,000. That's down 18,000 from the previous week. Why, if jobless claims are going down and we see all these jobs available, why in the world, you have to ask yourself, why in the world would the Fed cut interest rates? Why would they do this? Comment down below. The hedge today, initial jobless claims, 202,000. And I asked the question, why is the Fed talking about cutting interest rates if everything is so good? Everybody's working, all these jobs are out there. The expected GDP is supposed to be up, everything's fine. Why cut rates? And of course, home prices are still way up there. I thought that they wanted to slam home prices. I thought that they wanted to see higher unemployment in this country. I thought they were going to put the brakes on things and really continue to raise till they got all this under control. And we're nowhere near 2% inflation. So why are they, what do they know? What do they know behind the scenes that they're going, hey, we're going to have to begin cutting rates? And do we know? Are they even going to do it? I think that they will. I don't think they're going to do it 6 times though, but I don't think they should do it at all at this point. Here's one from the hedge today. Government social assistance and health is over 100% of job creation in these 3 states. The 3 states, Michigan, Illinois, New York, no surprise there. But this is what is driving American job growth in many states. Social assistance and health care. This is what is driving job growth. New York is spending $394 per day per person, $143,000 per year per person for people who are coming into that state from places around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is completely unsustainable. Where is the money coming from? And this is not to be political. This is asking a question. How are we paying for all this? How are we paying for all these people that are coming over here? We are printing a lot of money, we are borrowing a lot of money, and we are taxing a lot of people to pay for this. Again, not political. We're just being very realistic here. We have to ask the question, how are we paying for all this? Whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, we have to ask, how are we paying for this? Irvine, California, United Way. Each homeless person living in shelters or on the street costs $85,000 a year. You know why? Because these people are in the emergency room daily. And it is bogging down the health system in California and many places across the country. These are homeless people. My heart goes out to homeless people. There's got to be a better way because, again, who is paying $85,000 a year for these homeless people coming out of Irvine, California, and these homeless people in Orange County, California? But this is coming from Irvine, California, United Way. So my heart goes out to these people, but how in the world do we sustain $85,000 a year per homeless person because they're going to the emergency room daily? There's got to be a better solution to all this because the taxpayer cannot continue flipping the bill. Everybody's falling behind. People can't get ahead. And of course, you know, all the government money that's printed and given to these services, we're all paying for this in inflation. Walgreens stock plunges after drugstore chain slashes quarterly dividend nearly in half. Stock down 6% today. The dividend went from 48 cents to 25 cents. Not a good economic sign, is it? And this one too is going to reinforce with you and I that inflation is not going away. In fact, if they begin actually cutting rates, we're going to see more and more inflation. This is my biggest fear. They should not be letting off the brakes here, but what they're going to do is they're going to give in for whatever reason, and they're going to cut rates, and it's going to cause more inflation. Spot container rates surge by 173% due to Red Sea disruption. How in the world, when you have container rates going up 173%, how is this not inflationary? You're going to have to pay for these products that are coming through the Red Sea. How in the world? The Fed is looking at the same information. They see food prices. They see these container rates surging. They look at the job numbers. They're looking at unemployment numbers. They're looking at the amount of jobs out there. I don't agree or believe most of the data out there, but the Fed uses that data. And if the Fed's using that data, you have to ask a simple question. How in the world, if everything's going so well, there's so many jobs, so many people working, they say wages are going up, they're telling us inflation is going down, why would they be cutting rates right now? These container rates and all the disruption happening in the Middle East and oil prices beginning to surge back up, again, more problems, more inflation for the average person. Fairfax office building sells for $9.5 million, 2/3 less than what was paid for it. The building also had a $11 million upgrade. What a enormous loss, ladies and gentlemen. This is in LA County, Fairfax. Think about that. It sold for 2/3 off. I mean, that's incredible. Over 60% from what was paid for it, on top of the $11 million upgrade. You've got to think the losses that some of these banks are taking right now, especially regional banks, and the banking crisis that is going to worsen through 2024. We've seen all the branches closing. It wasn't that long ago where so many of these banks that you would go to would just have a sign in the window with a magic marker saying, sorry, closed today, for absolutely no apparent reason. And many of these banks have just closed up, and it's become a real concern for a lot of people. And think about, if you live in a smaller town and your bank closes down, it's a real inconvenience because now maybe you have to drive 10 miles farther to the next bank. But why are all the banks closing down? And you look at what's happening in commercial real estate, and it seems like every week these buildings, they're being sold for literally pennies on the dollar. And you've got to think who owns these buildings, the losses that they're taking on, and the devastation this is going to cause in the banking sector down the road here. And of course, interest rates staying higher for longer. And even though they do begin to cut, how much will they cut this year? 25, per meeting. They're going to cut 2-3 times. Maybe we'll see 0.75%, maybe 1% cut for the entire year. That is still going to be big trouble for the commercial real estate market. And of course, the 10-year bond yield. If it begins to climb over 5%, wow, it's going to be big trouble. It's going to be big trouble for the banks, for the builders, for the real estate industry, for people carrying debt on credit cards, for anybody that needs to borrow money to buy a car. It's going to be big trouble. And so we're going to have to really keep an eye on what's happening with that 10-year. Here's another one from The Hedge today. It's titled, Switched Off, Streaming Service Cancellations Rise as Streamflation Bites. November, 6.3% of people canceled their streaming service. And why? Because it's really greed, right? The streamflation is really greed. These companies just kept raising rates. HBO Max, $14.99. Netflix, $12.99. Hulu, $11.99. Showtime, $10.99. People's bills every month are going up, and up, and they're going, I got to start cutting some things out. So a lot of people are just cutting out their streaming. And people are going to be forced to cut out a lot of things in their life. And many have already begun to do that. And a lot of this garbage right here, a lot of this streaming garbage, they're cutting it out right now. In fact, I think that most people probably should cut it out because I think it's bad for you mentally. I think it's bad for you spiritually. I think a lot of this stuff is just garbage. Personally, I have, the very minimum of cable. That's it. None of these streaming services. Just the bare basics on cable, and I'm thinking about even getting rid of that. Wall Street Journal, the hidden force pushing mortgage rates down. This article on the Wall Street Journal must have been written a week ago or something. I just caught it today. But they're talking about mortgage rates going down because of what has happened to the 10-year bond yield. We were up over 5, and then it went down well into the 3s. But recently, the last couple of days, it is surging back up. Like today, broke 4% again. It's sitting right about 4% as I make this video. And I looked at bankrate.com today, 30-year at 7.06%, up 13 basis points from a week ago. So how quickly things can change. But it's amazing that, I'm not sure when this article came out on the Wall Street Journal. I saw it on the Drudge Report today, but just what a difference a couple days makes. Here we are already back over 4%, just like that. Here's one from The Hedge. Average U.S. household can afford only the cheapest 16% of listed homes. This according to Redfin. Something's going to have to give here, ladies and gentlemen. I was just looking at properties this morning on Zillow, and I'm continuing to see more homes being discounted, price reductions, but prices are still completely overvalued. When I go back to the tax records and I see some of these homes that are for sale today and what these homes were bought for back in 2018, 19, 20, compared to what they're asking for here in 2024, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Something's going to have to give here. It's going to be the buyers or the sellers. In my opinion, I believe it's going to be the sellers. I know that we hear every day there's just not enough inventory, but there is more and more inventory coming on. Oh, people bought homes for 3%, they're never going to sell. But here's an interesting statistic that we have to remember too is 40% of all the homes in America are paid for. These people have no mortgage. So they don't have to go, well, I only have a 2.65% or 3.2% mortgage on my house. No, they have no mortgage, so they're paying no mortgage rate here. So it wouldn't really matter to them. So when you have 40% of the homes in this country that are paid for have no mortgage, they're not going to really care as much maybe about the mortgage rate as somebody who bought a house, in the last few years that got a 3% rate. But then there's also those people that are going to be forced to move because they lost a job, spouse lost a job. Maybe they took a job somewhere else and they're going to be forced to move. Life happens and it forces people to sell. And some people, again, they're not going to have a choice because they're going to have to sell because inflation is destroying their purchasing power or their savings or they've lost their job, what have you. So there's just a lot of things in life where maybe you don't want to sell, but you're going to have to sell. And we all know that inflation is double digits. It is really hurting people, and it's making it much more difficult for people to hang on to these homes. Insurance costs on these homes is going up. Being able to maintain and service a home, the cost is going up. The utility prices are going up. At some point, people just go, you know what, I'm just got to sell. And maybe they're going to go rent or whatever. And I think one of the biggest things here is the people in the short-term rental market, Airbnb and the VRBO type people, where you have millions of these homes on short-term rentals that are not renting now. And these people are in big, big trouble. So they're not going to have a choice. They're going to have to sell or they're going to default, and the bank's going to take those homes, and then the bank sells those homes. Here's another one. Now this was, we're going to shift gears here a little bit. We're just talking about what's happening in society and the social disruption and decay of society. And I'm watching the news this morning, and you can YouTube this, Google it. It's all over the news. Triple felon flies across Vegas courtroom and attacks lady judge. I think she was 64 years old. This happened in a Las Vegas courtroom. I was watching this today on Fox Business. And this gentleman already pleaded guilty to an attempted battery with substantial bodily injury. He had previous felonies. His lawyer requested probation. The judge denied it because of his previous felonies. And this dude sailed through the air and landed on top of the judge. The bailiffs, officers, whatever they are, grabbed him. He tried fighting them, punching them. They got him under control. But, you watch just the violent behavior of people. There's no civility in this country. This person, multiple previous felonies, and here he is for another one. No respect for the law, no respect for the judge, no respect for the police, no respect for anybody in the courtroom. It's unbelievable. No respect for anybody's safety, and again, no respect for the law. Just unbelievable. I mean, it's shocking to see, like now we have people just flying over, flying through the air, attacking judges. When do people take responsibility for their actions? You know, everybody makes a mistake, and you know, maybe there's some leniency out there for people. Maybe, you know, they've had, you know, they've lived a good life, not ever had any trouble. You know, maybe made a bad decision, and you know, I can see a judge saying, hey, you know, we're going to cut you a break, yada yada yada. But this dude had previous felonies. And now he broke, you know, somebody's kneecaps, and here he is back in court, taking up more court time, taking up the judge's time, and he's a threat to people, okay? So this wasn't his first time, his first rodeo, and now he's in really big trouble, rightfully so. Here's another one today. ATM thieves target San Francisco bank and Oakland grocery store. So this happened the other night at 3:40 a.m. Bank of America ATM was broken into on Balboa Street. The thieves used a vehicle to break into this. Looks like, you know, one of these like little ATM buildings where the ATMs are inside. That's what it looks like. They broke in, drove through the doors, and got in there, and then busted into the ATM, taking a bunch of cash. Then another Bank of America ATM was hit at Food Max in Oakland's Fruitdale district, where they broke into another ATM. I don't know if these two events were related. Both of them, a dark SUV was used, but it's unbelievable the extent of these crimes that are taking place on a daily basis now, where people just drive their cars into buildings, into ATMs. It's really unbelievable. And this one is even more shocking. Mob of 100 looters smashes car through Compton Bakery, trashes store after street takeover. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen these street takeovers. They're very popular here in Southern California, where very late at night, hundreds of people will show up to an intersection, they'll shut everything down, and these cars are just doing donuts all over the place. And it's very, very dangerous. A lot of people get run over, a lot of fights break out, but they do like a lot of drifting and just, you know, just doing donuts in the middle of the intersection. And they shut everything down. Nobody can get through these intersections. There's hundreds of people there. It's really become a huge problem here in California. So this happened at 3 a.m. in the morning on Tuesday. And there's video here of a white Kia. So after the races are over, a white Kia backs into the doors of this bakery, and 100 people go into this thing, steal everything, take all the food, just demolish the place, and just take what they can get. You think about the family that owns this restaurant. They've been there for years, and they're not, you know, they're out of business right now until, you know, their insurance company pays them and they can replace all the equipment that's been destroyed, and their windows and their doors. And just think about how they feel violated. You know, I mean, it's unbelievable that you have people in politics chasing business owners out of the state. Then you have your own people, your own California people being lawless, destroying their own neighborhoods and robbing and looting their own stores. I mean, that makes no sense to me whatsoever. So, you know, here's a family that's been there for years, and a bunch of people in their own neighborhood just destroy their bakery. I mean, it just, I don't know if this bakery will come back to business. They're done, but it's really, really sad. Think about how the owners of this bakery feel today, losing everything. But it's just the feeling so violated by your own neighborhood, that people in your own neighborhood would do this to you. And whether you're from a neighborhood or not, you shouldn't do this to anybody's neighborhood, period. I mean, we're all human beings, right? I would not go into another neighborhood and go, oh, it's okay, I don't live here, I'm going to destroy this person's neighborhood. I mean, none of it is right. And again, it's this behavior that nobody is responsible for anything. It's really, really sad. And I could see why so many people are getting out of here. But, it's happening. It's not just California. It's really, really sad. Here's another one. And I'm going to wrap it up with this one. I was reading this today, and I couldn't believe it. Roaming dog packs leave a trail of blood and terror. It just continues to get worse. So this is happening in the county of Riverside, where I'm coming from right now, right here in the county of Riverside. And we now, I guess, apparently have wild dog packs running around here. And I've seen them over the years. I have not seen them for a very, very long time, at least in my area. They really cleaned it up, really made people aware about neutering and spaying their dogs, because we used to see a lot of dogs on the road. I would see a dog probably every 2 or 3 weeks run over by a car out here. But they really got things under control here. But other parts of Riverside is completely out of control. Last year, two Queensland blue heelers, 3 labs and a husky, slaughtered a herd of goats and 2 sheep on somebody's property. That happened last year. A few years ago, a woman actually lost her life to a pack of dogs out here in Riverside County. And so, here we are, back to this Mad Max type of society. That now here in Southern California, we not only worry about the crime, now we got to worry about packs of dogs, hurting us or hurting our animals. There are people out in the county areas here where there is a lot of land. They do have, chickens and sheep and horses and goats. And so the sheriff's department is making sure these people are very aware to keep their animals protected and, behind the gates or in cages, because these dogs will come out, typically in the evening, at night. They're hungry. They're in survival mode. When you let a dog back, to the wild, it's going to go back to its roots. It's going to turn into a pack mentality. All dogs derive from the wolf. And when you take a domesticated dog and you put it back in the wild, it's going to go back, to where it came from, that wolf mentality. In this article, it was just talking about how people are just dropping their dogs off loose in parts of Riverside. And the sheriff's department and the animal people, they're going to check these dogs to see if they've been chipped, and many of these dogs were chipped. So they know that a lot of people are dropping their dogs off in parts of Riverside and letting them loose. And I think that's one of the most cruel things you could do to a dog. I mean, if you cannot keep your dog, I know life happens. People lose jobs. People lose their houses. People have major events. I understand that. Try and find somebody that, you can give that dog to and make sure it gets a good home. At least take it to, one of the animal shelters where at least has a chance. But to just drive off into the county of Riverside and drop a dog off, that is just terrible. I think that's so cruel to just to do that to a dog. I don't have words to even describe that. Really, the way wrong thing to do. But that's people again. The irresponsibility, the recklessness. They don't care if that dog gets killed by a pack of dogs, or if that dog becomes a pack of dogs and kills other people's animals or other people's dogs, or kills a human being. So it's really sad today to just look at what's happening to society as far as crime, the disrespect for law, the disrespect for even a dog. It's really sad. And then I look at all the trash along the freeway, and I look at some of these rural areas of California where there's just, people just go out there and dump trash anywhere they want, and nobody does anything about it. It's really, really unbelievable how far, at least the state of California, has fallen. It really is going down the toilet. But anyways, feel free to comment on any of this. It is 2024, and things are really, really happening. And I can't even imagine what this is going to look like by the time we hit summer. Do you believe the economy, let's figure by July. Is the economy in July going to be doing better, or will it be doing worse? Will most people's standard of living be improved by this summer, or is it going to be worse than it was last summer. I just see a lot of problems here globally, the global debt, the wars that are popping up across the globe, events that are happening right here that a lot of people are not talking about. But when you have a society that is disrespecting law, like we're seeing right now, that doesn't care about their own communities, doesn't care about dumping trash, dumping dogs, doesn't care about respecting judges, doesn't care about respecting law or human life, just think about, if people began to not eat, they miss 3 or 4 meals, what are these people capable of doing if they can just take over an entire street and do donuts and just drive through a bakery and take whatever they want, or go into, the mall and take any amount of jewelry or sunglasses or anything they want and just walk out with no repercussions. Think about what happens when people get hungry in this nation and they miss 3 or 4 meals. That's what I'm really, really worried about. And you should be worried about that too. I'm going to leave it there today. God bless every one of you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a good day. I wish I had better news, but unfortunately, I don't think the news is going to get much better anytime soon. And you need to be preparing for that. God bless.